Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news on church stories. I am Eyumojock. Let's begin. Dawn broke over Bambeli with an unsettling stillness, quickly shattered by sight of military trucks rumbling through the university town's narrow road. Several roads and youths were forcefully rounded up and driven away, leaving behind a community gripped by fear and disbelief. For a place known for intellectual exchange and youthful energy, the spectacle of mass arrest served as a chilling reminder of the deepening crisis in the Ambazonia nation and the long shadow by President Paul Biya's decades-old rule. These arrests are not an isolated incident, but part of a troubling pattern that has turned everyday life in Bambili into a cycle of anxiety and uncertainty. Residents describe the roundups as a deliberate act of intimidation aimed at silencing dissent and breaking the spirit of population already strained by years of war. As families search for information about their detained loved ones, the sense of injustice is compounded by a growing belief that fundamental rights are being systematically ignored. Meanwhile, tensions escalated further in nearby Bafmeng, where a deadly ambush claimed the lives of two soldiers early Sunday morning. Gunfire erupted as they reportedly traveled towards an extortion post, sending residents scrambling for safety. The attack, attributed to an Ambazonian State Army commander known locally as General BKT, has plunged surrounding communities into a state of imposed lockdown as civilians brace for possible military reprisals and the ever-present threat of renewed clashes. That's the update from the home front. But first, let's get the prime headlines. Tonight on Undaunted, Wotutu youth released after paying ransom and random fines to French Cameroun forces of occupation in Ambazonia. Also tonight, two French Cameroun soldiers killed in Ambazonia State Army ambush in Bafmeng. Also, take a look at the mayor of Eyumojock freed after abduction, renewing fears over rising security in Manyu division. French Cameroun Territorial Minister failed to accredit 105 observers from the Catholic Church. Also tonight on the African scene, Burkina Faso says plot to kill military leader Ibrahim Traoré failed. Meanwhile, on the global scene, Trump orders U.S. withdrawal from 66 international organizations. Now let's get the news in full details. The controversy surrounding the arrest of over 50 youths in Wotutu during New Year celebration has taken a disturbing turn. According to reports, the youths were released only after paying random fines to the authorities, sparking allegations of extortion and human rights abuses. The youths were arrested on Wednesday night, allegedly for celebrating the New Year, and were taken to Bonjongo, where they were asked to pay 50,000 CFA each for their release. Many of the youths and their families are poor peasant farmers who can barely afford basic needs, making the hefty fines a significant burden. The incident has sparked outrage among residents who claim that the youths were simply celebrating the new year and were not engaging in any unlawful activities. The authorities have yet to issue an official statement on the arrest, but the gendarmerie in Bonjongo allegedly cited vagrancy as the offense. The practice of arresting and fining people for minor offenses or no offense at all is reminiscent of colonial era tactics where law enforcement was used to maintain control and suppress dissent. The incident highlights the need for greater accountability and transparency in the way law enforcement agencies operate, particularly in areas where economic struggles are prevalent. The people of Wotutu demand justice and fair treatment from their authorities. The incident shows and raises questions about the role of law enforcement in the community and whether they are serving the interest of the people. Alright, Barrister Mbeseha, you're welcome to tonight's Undaunted. On Monday, we talked about the youth of Wotutu where they were arrested for no just cause. Well, 4 days after, we get this report that they are now released and they are asked to pay fines, which is of course the reason why they were arrested in the first place. Our report on Monday indicated that even eyewitnesses were asking what they did. The young ones didn't do anything. And today they are made to pay fines before they can be released. Like you said, all of this is only geared towards extortion, and that has confirmed the incidents. Welcome to tonight's Undaunted. What would your say be? Off on Monday together. What would you say about this? Because I mean, at the end of the day, we have seen that it is pure extortion.
Yes, Cameroon government, the military, the security forces, they have different ways of intervening to capture people and extort money from them. This is not an arrest, as we call it. No, it is an abduction. This is different from Kale, where they swap into the village and catch everybody and get money from you. This, if I saw the vehicles you put there very, very well, the vehicles are marked GMI, Groupement Mobile Intervention, which means Mobile Intervention Unit. They are fast. What are they intervening for? If the story is what we are told, the guys are drinking somewhere, jubilating somewhere in Wotutu on New Year's Day. And then they come in with their vehicles, they swap in on notice, they round up everybody, take you away, no crime is alleged. The only crime is that you are celebrating. Since when the celebration become a crime? Since when in fact, celebration on 1st January, the day of independence of Cameroon, become a crime to be punished. But whatever is the case, they are taken away, as we are told, for a number of days. We don't know what was going on there. I would say that they were being tortured to extort money from them. And after everybody had paid the last penny that they could afford, they let them go, no question asked. Is this what security is supposed to be? Certainly not. Is this what should go on anywhere else in the civilized world? Certainly not. So why is it in If it is not Wotutu, it will be Kumba. If it is not in Kumba, it will be Kubindop. It could be in. Why is it extortion? Why is the country in a permanent state of fear? Why are these mobile intervention units, peak mobile intervention, flooding the road? Bonjongo is a village. Wotutu is a village. It's not in town. Take from there as a riot for you to mobile intervene rapidly. After nothing, they people go to the farms, they come back, they sleep. And so you create a whole to silence them for anything that they can do. If it is a kradai, what we call it kradai, it is about how to run there, adopt people, drink mimbo, and then walk away. Where does the population go? Yes, this money. But what do you expect a guy in Bojongo, in Wotutu? Where are they going to lay their complaint to who? To who? These are the security people. They are part of our police and gendarme. That's the unit that are supposed to be getting crimes, ordinary complaints. Sitting Wotutu players who are faced with this, where are you going to complain? To whom are you going to complain? There's no way to complain. There's no way to go. You have victims of an unwanted illegal occupation. There's nothing worse than this in life. They are not caught between the rock and sea. Where would you escape to? You have escaped to the village of Bojongo. You are living in Wotutu in the village, going to the farm. We follow you there, you, abduct you, take whatever thing you have, and let you go. You can have no question to ask. Should this ever be in a human society? No. Again, that's one of the reasons why we fight to get out of this nonsense. And until we get out of it, we enjoy human rights. Shall we enjoy right under the law? Over to you.
Very sad. What would they do in a village just to manipulate and extort them? All right, moving on, Barrister. A deadly ambush by the Ambazonia State Army has claimed the lives of two soldiers in Bafmeng. The colonial soldiers were on their way to an extortion post when they came under heavy gunfire, according to local sources. Witnesses described the scene as chaotic, with residents fleeing for safety as the shooting started early on Sunday morning. The ambush has been attributed to Ambazonia State Commander, known as General BKT, who is said to be one of the last remaining active armed figures in the area. The incident has sparked fear and tension in the area, with residents imposing a safe lockdown amid fears of French Cameroun military reprisals or further clashes. The town remains deserted, with streets empty and residents staying indoors. Colonial French Cameroon authorities have yet to issue an official statement on the incident, leaving many to wonder about the implications of this latest attack. The violence shows the ongoing security in rural communities in Ambazonia, where the Ambazonia State Army continues to stand for the people and protect her people against colonial government forces. Barrister Mbeseha. This is another incident where their ASA stopped the colonial government or colonial military from going in to extort the people. What would your thoughts be on this?
Well, just like in the last segment, I say village, Bojongo is a village. People cannot even find salvation there. They cannot find peace even to go to their farm. The same like Bafmeng. Bafmeng is a village. It's not in the middle of town. So you create an extortion unit and put it there for them to go extort from people. It is clear. What are you going to? That was the primary assignment. Early in the morning, go and get whatever you get back home, and they will share. This again, it could be in Dop, it could be anywhere. That's the repetition of what is going on anywhere in Ambazonia. And so these people are armed. They are not going to road. They are armed with guns. And the stories have been told, it have been repeated. If you don't give them money, they could kill you or they adopt you, and they'll kill people before in Boya. We remember 2019, I think, when they shot and killed that child who was taken to school somewhere in Boya, there in Muliko, and because they didn't give it and killed the child. And so if you bring them down, are they legitimate targets? Of course they are. Because they are not asking from you, they're extorting out of God. So you can bring them down, that's a good job. And so, what again are these people doing in the villages? What happened in Bafmeng is just like what happened in Wotutu. Bafmeng, Wotutu is in Limbe. Bafmeng is in Bamenda. And so what are these people deployed there to do, I ask? They sit there, their primary duty, their business, official business is to go and explore the road. Because if the story is true, they were on the way to their job. What was their job? Going out on the road. And they are not taking money from people freely. People are being extorted with arms. If you don't pay, they could kill you. I gave the example that, well, remember Boya, when they refused to pay, they shot and killed the people being taken to school. And so I said these people are a legitimate target because they're extortionists, they are criminals. If our ASAs in Bafmeng or anywhere else in Ambazonia can lay them, ambush, and take them down, that's a job well done. They should be congratulated for doing that thing. Because until they learn to know that there's no safe space for them to operate anywhere in Ambazonia, be it in Bafmeng, be it in Wotutu, be it in Manfe or anywhere else, they are not safe. As long as they remain armed and extort people from people under arms, they are official armed robbers. And what do you do to an armed robber if you are attacked? You bring down the armed robber first. So that is the legitimate target. I congratulate our boys for doing it the way they did and for getting into safety without anything to account for. That's what I was saying. I say congratulations to them for their skills. Congratulations to them for their disappearing. That's how they operate and that's how they are supposed to operate. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. Still on their insecurities, this is heading to Eyumojock, where the mayor and the mayor in council, Chief Jack Ita, has been released after days of captivity following his abduction on the 6th of January in Manyu division by suspected unknown gunmen. His release has sparked mixed emotions of relief and renewed fear among residents as insecurity and kidnapping continues to tighten their grip on the area. In a video that has since circulated widely, Chief Jackie Ita is seen emerging from an armored vehicle. Amid tight security, he is welcomed by a jubilant crowd, including groups of motorbike riders who escorted him through the streets, while excited residents lifted him shoulder high in celebration. The scenes reflected both the population's joy at his safe return and the deep anxiety that has gripped their community during his absence. The kidnapping of a sitting mayor has once again shown the worsening security situation in Manyu and other parts of Ambazonia. Once considered rare cases of abduction, it have increasingly become commonplace, affecting traders, farmers, students, traditional rulers, and now even top government officials. This incident shows that no one is safe anymore, a resident of Eyumojock said. If a home mayor can be kidnapped, what hope is there for ordinary civilians who have no protection? Over the past years, kidnapping for ransom and targeted abductions have become what many locals describe as the order of the day. Victims are often seized on roads in their homes or while going about their daily activities, creating a climate of fear and uncertainty. Economic activities have slowed, movement has reduced, and many families now live in constant anxiety over the safety of their loved ones. The abduction of Chief Jackie Ita is seen by many as a troubling symbol of how far insecurity has spread. Community leaders and civil society actors are calling on authorities to strengthen security measures and protect civilians, warning that continued kidnappings could further erode public confidence and social stability. While the population of Eyumojock celebrates the mayor's freedom, the broader concern remains unresolved. If those at the highest level of local administration are vulnerable, then the plight of ordinary citizens is even more precarious. For many in Manyu, the question now is not just who will be kidnapped next, but when meaningful action will be taken to end the cycle of fear? So that's the question. When will meaningful action be taken to erode all of these fears? Barrister Mbeseha, do you know when? Because it seems like everyone can be a target. Anyone can be kidnapped by the unarmed gunmen.
Well, I think whereas anybody can be a target, we must analyze each situation in the particular circumstances. Was this a kidnap that we understand as we understand it before? I doubt it. I doubt it very much. The story, as we know, as we have been told, started with the mayor driving somewhere in a pickup truck. He was picked up. He was there with the driver. No fire, no gunfire hurt. Nobody wounded. No car burnt. He disappeared and claimed to have been adopted. The mayor has come back. We've not heard of any ransom demand, any ransom paid. Can we say this was a kidnap? It could be a kidnap, but I would describe it to me, and very almost, it was a staged kidnapping. It's staged. These people manipulated this thing. Otherwise, the mayor in an where did the Amoka find him? Being received by a large population dancing down the streets. Who mobilized the population to say it's coming back on this day at this hour for them to assemble there and dance for his return? It looks to me purely staged. Have we had this before? Of course. I just thought about Regina Mundi not long ago. Regina Mundi was alleged to have been kidnapped or adopted somewhere in the middle of Bamenda town, in a Prado, with a driver. There was no gunfire, nothing. Regina Mundi disappeared into some space. Came back some days after in a helicopter, flown in there in a new tracksuit, and they call it an adoption. Nobody beat her, nothing happened to her. We are told that they pay some 10 million. I doubt it. These are some of these government officials, a good number of them, are staged. If you see a kidnapping that has real meaning in the sense of the war, you hear the questions they ask the guys who are kidnapped. What did they ask you? Can we remember what happened with Christian Tumi, may he rest in peace, and the fall of Saul? Christian Tumi was the highest ranking official of the church. He was adopted for a number of days. He came back and told the story of what he saw there, what they asked him. They didn't even take money from him. They simply questioned him, interviewed him, and released him. I didn't come back in that fanfare. So to me, what is going on there leads a lot to be explained. Someone was explained to us. This guy in Eyumojock is next to Nigeria. I think he has cousins and brothers across the river Ekok there, just in Nigeria. Then he goes there, he disappears for a few days, comes back well dressed up. Does that look like somebody coming from a torture center? He's clapping, so dressed up, he's being shaded up. They come from where? This is a staged thing, especially in Eyumojock. To tell Nigeria, our neighbor, where who are hiding as exile, to tell Nigeria these guys are bad people, they are capturing government officials and so on and so forth. I don't in the least believe in what happened in Eyumojock until they give us further explanation. Why was he kidnapped? Why was the car that he was driving in just left like that? Nobody fired a gun. Was there any ransom paid? We have not been told that. He had not been wounded. Even the driver who was driving with him in the truck, none of them was ever wounded. Are these the first government officials to be taken at that? No. Remember, somewhere in India, the two away the deal and 4 others. The deal is still there, but he went through torture. We saw him when he came back. The others have never ever come back. We don't know where they are. We remember, at the end of this war, 2017, I think, they took away an official, a deal, in Batibo, he has never returned. So what is too particular about this gentleman in Eyumojock, next to Nigeria, disappearing for a few days, coming back in fanfare, being driven in a military truck? Not just a truck that goes into the bush, one of the best cars that they have, trucking him down the town before a big crowd cheering for his return. In my opinion, this is staged. Who are bigger than that, who understand where their fine prints go. And we don't believe in that. We don't believe in that. So it is not that everybody can be a target. It's possible everybody can be a target. But I don't think that was a similar thing. It's not. This guy was not kidnapped until he gives further explanation as to where he was, what questions he was asked, why he got free. You can come and say they took 1 million from me, they took 10 million. You can say that now. You can manufacture those lies. But again, it will go back to Regina Mundi. Regina Mundi is important because after what Regina Mundi went through, she came out and wrote a book. She told us her story of what happened to her while she was away. The first thing she said she asked was for 2 exercise books, one in which to write her will and one in which to write that they will give to her children. She was by Efam. They saw them sitting there, and of course, she told us something. She saw arms there. Where did the arms come from that they used in adopting her? From our own eyewitness and from the social was told, the arms came from the government. That was Amin Choyaba and his ADF. He was embarrassed to see even the boys who were there. He knew them. So again, back to this story, it is a staged story. No mayor was kidnapped. He faked it to make relevance at the beginning of the year. Who knows? President Pobe is trying to make a new government. That might be an opportunity for him to get a better job than being a mayor of some place called Eyumojock. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha, for that review. Let's see with the coming days if others would also share in your thought about this particular kidnap, if it were staged, if it were real. I mean, people will take a look at it and then give their own review afterwards. Would definitely follow up with this. Meanwhile, in the neighboring French Cameroun, the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroun had planned to deploy 307 observers to monitor last October's presidential election. But the French Cameroun Ministry of Territorial Administration only accredited 202, according to Archbishop Andrew Kier. The NECC president was speaking in Kumba during the opening of the 49th annual seminar of bishops on Tuesday. The commission provided refresher training to 307 observers from the Justice and Peace Commissions of the 26 dioceses. Of the 307 accredited requested, 202 were granted by the French Cameroun Ministry of Territorial Administration, he said. The small number of accredited observers enabled the Catholic Church to cover just 39% of polling stations. Despite the small number, these 202 Christian observers were deployed throughout the country with the support of the Diocesan Peace and Justice Commissions. They covered 12,257 out of 31,635 polling stations, or approximately 39% spread across the country's 10 regions, Archbishop Nkier added. He said NECC's Justice and Peace Commission had a positive assessment of the election in the areas their observers were present, but he made no mention of several reported cases of fraud and alleged ballot stuffing attributed to members of the ruling CPDM party. He added that NECC took note of the official results proclaimed by the Constitutional Council, adding that the Bishops' Conference is not responsible for declaring election results. He also strongly condemned post-electoral violence that resulted from citizens' attempt to denounce what they saw as rigged results from the Constitutional Council, and hence for them this article. And of course, that has been read across the media, and so many persons are looking at this issue. Barrister Mbeseha. last election
I think
is still coming back in ways that people do not understand. The episcopal visits and the episcopal numbering, what could this mean?
well, it is good that it's coming back right now for a proper discussion. And this, the president of the Episcopal Council, Archbishop Andrew, is speaking there on behalf of the Episcopal Council of Cameroon. For all the 26 bishops, that is the 26 dioceses that Cameroon has. And then he's talking their role in the elections that came. Remember last year in Buya, they issued statements, powerful statements, before the elections in January last year. They did all that in anticipation for good elections. A good election, a credible election starts from the preparation before, during, and after. Those are the three stages: before, during, and after. In before means preparation. It is not well done, you don't expect to have a good election. During, it is not prepared, organized right there, people will not be able to cast their votes. After, if the votes are not properly counted, if they are not well documented, that is, you will not expect to get the final results. And so that's the Episcopal Council. I just don't know whether they didn't know or they knew and they are hiding something. I remember before the elections, Mr. Nkia, Archbishop Nkia went to the presidency publicly and then go with two or three bishops and announced that they are prepared as the Episcopal Council was going to accompany the government before, during, and after the elections. Before, during, and after the elections. What do you expect before an election happens? You expect to designate your own election observers, which they try to do. But right there, they were told no, because the beginning of theft, the beginning of election fraud, starts with when you don't want somebody else to witness what you are doing. You don't want an independent somebody to see what the crimes you are committing. And so they designated just 300. What is 300 out of 7,000 election polling stations? But they did that in a way. And what did the government do? The government said, no, 300 is even too much. We'll let you have only 200. That's the beginning. They will not even allow them to have the election observers right there. And they had stood there and said they would accompany the government before, during, and after. And again, they ask themselves this question: who was organizing the elections? Was it the Minister of Territorial Administration or Eleka? I guess officially it is Eleka. The management of elections is Eleka. So why will you go to ask somebody else who has nothing to do with elections organization to vet your observers? What's the Ministry of Territorial Administration got to do with the vetting of election observers? That's where the thing begins. They deny you the right to be there. And that's the beginning of the fraud. Because they only witnessed less than 12,000, is it 1,200 polling stations? Not even up to 1,200. That's what they saw. What happened to all places, they have no idea because they have been prevented from being there. So they were not there. They cannot claim right now that they accompanied the government during the election because the people were to observe during the election. When the election was going on, when they were putting the ballot into the box and counting it, they were not there. They were in a very few small position. 200 of theirs. Could these 200 credibly say they saw a full election? Certainly not. And what did they say? What they saw from the 200, is it 30 stations? Because they are supposed to have at least 2 observers in a polling station, not 1. From the internet they saw, they thought that it didn't went where. But here his statement. But they took note of the results. But he failed to say that the result did not even reflect what they saw as observers. And so this is where the problem is. The Episcopal Council of Cameroon is a very powerful organization. But it's also made up of people individual bishops who are very, very different in their actions, who seem to understand politics differently. I remember that Archbishop Andrew, who is speaking for all of them, is in Bamenda. There's another bishop in Bafusam, Bishop Kinney, who we saw before, during, and after the elections. That's the same Catholic Archbishop who fought, who tried as much as he could to contain the fraud, to challenge whatever was being falsely alleged. And so that's the dilemma of the church. And so all utterances by the Archbishop, I think that they are, just because he doesn't know, or they know and they are trying to hide something, there's something common. If you don't want to get yourself into politics, if you don't want to call black black and call white white, don't venture into it. Just stay away. If the council, as a council, is not prepared to say, look, we saw this thing, the results were manipulated, not by anybody else, but by the government and election, let them keep their mouths shut. They were there before and saw how Kamtu was unjustly disqualified. They said nothing. They were there after and saw how Elise Kane was adopted and killed. They said nothing. So how do they accompany Elekam or the government of Cameroon before, during, or after the elections? They will not. Give me a second. They cannot. And so again, all what the Archbishop said there, and we listen to it. There are a lot of people who can say a lot about it. They are only human beings. Their role is to point out what is wrong. Going further, nobody has asked the Episcopal Council of Cameroon to become a lekam, to declare results. No. All what we expect from them, normal people, Christians that they preach to, is that they should say black is black, no matter who gets hurt. In this exercise of elections, at least the majority of people in Cameroon, around the world, believe that the beginning was wrong. The conduct was so illegitimate, was so fraudulent, and the counting of the ballot was the worst thing. And again, could they observe it? You see, this way Cameroon manipulated the whole world. Election observers come in during the elections, and then what do? At the end of the poll, 2 days or 1 day after, they made their report and walk away. They saw people voting, they were not fighting. They saw people cast their vote. That's okay. But that is not where the fraud in Cameroon starts. The fraud in Cameroon starts after the election observers have left. When the figures are transferred from there to the district offices, taking 2 weeks to recount, to fabricate new figures. That's where it starts. So you cannot observe that thing. They are not going to be sitting in the Ministry of Territorial Administration and seeing how they are going to cash Ikane. They are not going to sit there and say they are going to deploy people to go and cash Isa Chiroma. They are gone. And so the fraud in Cameroon is so technical, is so well articulated, manipulated, even to keep to make the sun look blind. And so again, poor Archbishop, poor Episcopal Council, what you saw, I usually say, did not reflect what the observer said. But your greatest mistake is that it did not come out. They say no. This is what part of what we saw did not reflect this. If they had been careful, they would have been able to ask their 200 observers. Give us the report that you brought from different stations. What did you find in station A? Who won there? They cross-checked to see the final results. What were the final results from that place? I guess they were in Batibel and realized that they were less than, there was no voter there, but results showed there were 5,000 people voted in Batibel. There's a Catholic big church there. What did you say about that? Something is wrong somewhere. Over to them.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister. Thank you so much for joining us on tonight's Undaunted. Meanwhile, before you go, on Saturday we hear that there is an emergency buoy draft. Do you, by perchance, have an idea of what is expected on Saturday?
Well, what is expected on Saturday is money. It's short and simple. Draft is done by us in the diaspora in general. What do? We throw our pennies. We send our hands into the pockets, and pull out the last penny to assist the people back home. This one is particular for buoy. We know buoy is under stress, and our $1, our 50 cents, our widow's mite will go a lot to encourage them. And so we cannot sit here, for example, and let buoy fall. I've said many times before that at the end of this war, Cameroun might well end in buoy. They might find their water low there, because that's where they've had the greatest hit, most particularly in buoy and Gokutunja. And so what came on Saturday, I can only say that, simply put, we need money, and we shall continue to make that widow's mite contribution until we get to buoy. Come prepared, bring your widow's mite. For millionaires, bring your million. Nothing is wasted here. Nothing is too small. Nothing is too big. That's what I understand the upcoming buoy county. Over to you.
Of Saturday, 10th of January 2026, by 9 p.m. Amber time will be the emergency buoy support. All Ambazonians are expected to join in that conversation, and like Barrister Mbeseha said, drop their widow's mite. All right, Barrister, is on this note that we'll let you go. Hope to see you on Saturday before the buoy emergency buoy draft proper. And when we return right after the break, we'll head into Africa, where Burkina Faso says plot to kill military leader Ibrahim Traoré has foiled. Burkina Faso's military government says it has thwarted an alleged plot to assassinate the country's leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, accusing his predecessor and foreign backers of being behind the plan. In a late-night broadcast on state television, Security Minister Mahamadou Sanar said intelligence services had uncovered what he described as a sophisticated and well-coordinated operation aimed at killing Traoré and destabilizing the country. In his words, he says our intelligence services intercepted this operation in the final hours. The conspirators plan to assassinate the head of state and then carry out attacks against other strategic targets, including key institutions and civilian personality. Well, according to the minister, the plot was allegedly orchestrated by late Colonel Paul Henry Damiba, the former military leader who was overthrown by Traoré in a coup in September 2022. Sana further exclaimed that the operation was financed in neighboring Côte d'Ivoire, a charge that could heighten already strained regional relations. There has been no immediate reaction from either Lieutenant Colonel Damiba or the Ivorian authorities. Côte d'Ivoire has previously rejected similar accusations from Burkina Faso and its ruling junta, insisting it does not interfere in the internal affairs of its neighbors. Burkina Faso has experienced a series of coups since 2022, reflecting deep instability driven by a worsening Islamist insurgency, political division within the armed forces, and public frustration over security failures. Traoré, who seized power at the age of 34, has positioned himself as a reformist leader determined to restore sovereignty and strengthen security while distancing the country from traditional Western allies. The government has not disclosed whether any arrests have been made in connection with the alleged plot, but Sana said investigations were ongoing and warned that authorities could respond with utmost firmness to any attempt to undermine their state. The announcement comes amid heightened security concerns in Burkina Faso, where attacks by militant groups like the Al Qaeda and the Islamic State continues to claim lives and displace millions. Analysts and public analysts say the allegations shows the fragile political environment and the risk of further internal power struggles within the military. Other observers are watching closely to see whether the claims lead to any diplomatic fallout or further crackdowns at home as the junta consolidates its grip on power. Well, we return right after the break. Would head into the globe, where Trump has ordered U.S. withdrawal from 66 international organizations. United States President Donald Trump has ordered the withdrawal of the country from 66 international organizations in a sweeping move that signals a deepening shift away from multilateral engagement under his administration. The decision was announced on Wednesday in a statement by the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said the action followed a review of Americans' involvement in global bodies. Rubio explained that the organizations targeted were deemed inconsistent with U.S. national interest or ineffective in delivering value to American citizens. The withdrawal affects a wide range of institutions, including United Nations agencies and other international bodies involved in climate policy, migration, human rights, governance, global health, and development. Officials said the move is intended to reduce U.S. financial obligations abroad and refocus attention on domestic priorities. According to the State Department, the decision aligns with President Trump's Africa, America's First foreign policy, which prioritizes national sovereignty and limits participations in organizations viewed as undermining U.S. interests. The announcement has drawn mixed reactions worldwide. Critics warn that exiting dozens of global organizations could weaken international cooperation and reduce U.S. influence on key global issues, while supporters argue it will curb unnecessary spending and restore policy independence. U.S. agencies have been directed to begin the withdrawal process immediately, although officials noted that formal exits will depend on legal and procedural requirements of each organization. And that's it for tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the news that made it to the headlines. Tonight in Undaunted, we told you that Wotutu youths have been released after paying ransom fines to colonial French Cameroun forces. Also tonight, we told you that 2 French Cameroun soldiers were neutralized in Ambazonia in Bafmeng on Sunday, January 3rd. Also, Mayor of Eyumojock has been freed after abduction, renewing fears over rising insecurity in Manyu division. Tonight, we told you that the 2025 election, French Cameroun Territorial Minister failed to accredit 105 observers from Catholic Church. On the African scene, we told you that Burkina Faso says plot to kill military leader Ibrahim Traoré forward. Also, Trump orders U.S. withdrawal from 66 international organization. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. Bringing to news on church stories. On behalf of Barrister Mbeseha and a team of technicians behind tonight's production is good night and God bless.